Asterisk, I caught my dad hugging a stranger in the mall. Then he said, "Don't tell your mom." Asterisk, I never thought I'd see my dad act like that, hugging a complete stranger in the middle of the mall. It wasn't just a quick, polite hug either. It was one of those long, tight embraces filled with so much emotion that you could almost feel the weight of it from across the room. My heart raced instantly, and I found myself frozen in place. I wanted to look away, but my eyes were glued to the scene. When my dad noticed me watching, his eyes went wide with surprise, and he quickly pulled away from the woman. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "Don't tell your mom." That moment stayed with me for days. I kept replaying it in my head, wondering who the woman was and why my dad was acting so secretive. Why would he ask me not to tell my mom? The confusion and curiosity gnawed at me. I knew I had to find out what was really going on, a little about my family. I'm 17 years old, and my parents have been married for over 20 years. My mom is a nurse and works incredibly long hours, often coming home exhausted, while my dad usually spends most of his time at home gardening or watching the news. They've always seemed like a stable couple, even if they didn't show a lot of affection in public. But recently, I noticed Dad had been acting different, quieter, more withdrawn, sometimes disappearing for hours without explanation. One afternoon, I was at the mall getting some snacks when I spotted Dad sitting by the food court, hugging a woman I didn't recognize. She looked tired and fragile, her face pale, but there was a deep warmth between them. It wasn't just any hug. It was a hug filled with love and worry. I wasn't sure if I should approach or pretend I didn't see anything. Instead, I just watched, feeling a strange mixture of confusion and concern. That night, I decided to ask Dad about it. I tried to sound casual, but inside I was nervous. When I asked who the woman was, his expression changed immediately. He looked away, his voice shaky as he said, "She's sick. Please, don't tell your mom." That was all he would say. The fear and sadness in his eyes told me this was serious, something he was trying to protect me from. But I was scared too. Why keep it a secret? What could be so terrible? The next few days were a blur of questions and worry. I noticed Dad slipping out late at night more often, sometimes coming back after midnight. I couldn't stop thinking about that woman. Finally, one evening, I decided to follow him. I stayed a safe distance behind as he drove to a rundown apartment building on the edge of town. My heart pounded with every step. Who is this woman? Why was Dad risking so much to keep her hidden? What would Mom say if she found out? The next day, I confronted Dad again, desperate for answers. This time, tears welled up in his eyes. He told me the woman was his sister, my aunt, who had been battling cancer for months. She'd lost her home and had no one else to turn to. Dad had taken her in quietly, not wanting to upset Mom or make our family worry. "I wanted to keep her safe," he said softly, voice breaking. Hearing that changed everything for me. I finally understood that Dad wasn't hiding anything to betray Mom. He was protecting us all from pain out after that. I helped Dad care for my aunt. We kept her presence a secret for a while, sharing quiet moments and little victories. Eventually, we decided it was time to tell Mom. I was scared of how she'd react. But when we told her, instead of anger, she wrapped us both in a hug and said, "We're family. We face things together." It wasn't easy, but we became closer than ever. This experience taught me so much about love, sacrifice, and the invisible struggles that families face. Sometimes the hardest secrets aren't about betrayal. They're about protecting the people you care about most. That day in the mall, when I saw my dad hugging that stranger, I learned that a hug can hold 1,000 unspoken stories, stories of pain, hope, and love.